Hi guys, it's Lynn here. I hope you're all having a lovely and safe day. Now today guys, I'm very excited because I'm going to be starting to water some of my cacti and succulents here in the polytunnel for the first time since the winter. Now I have made a video before where I go into a lot more detail on how to know when to start watering your cacti and succulents in the spring, because it is a bit of a dilemma and it can depend on so many different things. Like as soon as it's like March, you don't think, oh, it's spring now, I can start watering. It really does depend on many things, including the temperature, the climate, and what type of plant you have as well. So I do explain in another video in a lot more detail on how to know when to start watering your cacti and succulents after their winter rest in the spring. And if you're not familiar with it, do check that video out please. Links up above, and it goes into a lot more detail what to look for, but I'm also going to be sharing a few tips on here. Now the other day I actually put all of my epiphytic cacti, as you can see, a lot of space now, they're normally all hanging up here, out into the yard here. We've had some really lovely sunny spring days and put them all on the hanging hooks there and given them all a good watering and fertilising. And they're really starting to pump up now. And I mentioned when I did that video, I think I said I'm going to leave watering the desert types like these for probably another couple of weeks or so, depending on the weather and the temperature. Well, we've had some really lovely warm weather here in Ireland the past few days. And the trouble you have is when you do have lovely weather this early in the year, it's late March now, and we've had some nice sunny weather. The next week can literally drop really cold again, and you can, it's not unusual for us to have snow in April, May, even late May. So the last thing I want to do is give all these a really good soaking and a watering, then finally have a spell of very cold grey weather, and then the plants can go back into a bit of a rest period again, and then rot can form. Now what I've done with my plants inside of the house, I have a lot of cacti and succulents inside the house as well that we overwintered indoors. I've started to water them as normal now because they're inside, the temperature's warm, they're all coming into growth, and the days now are long enough to continue watering. So I do explain more on when to know when to start watering your cacti and succulents as well. But if it's your spring now and you have your cacti and succulents indoors in the house, and it's relatively warm, I know some parts, there's some people living in Canada and places that can still be having it very cold at the moment. So it really does depend on many things, even inside your house. But most people's houses will be heated, and because the days are long now, you can go ahead and water your cacti and succulents. But because this is our polytunnel here, lovely warm day today. In fact, it's over 20 degrees here at the moment, not outside, obviously not, but inside the polytunnel, which would be what, 70 over 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Absolutely gorgeous temperature, and it's been like the past few days, we've had some lovely spring weather. And because of that, obviously the cacti have been continuing, the ones in the small pots have been shrivelling up a lot, as you can see here. And normally I was going to wait probably till April, the second week, before I give them all a water again, because as I mentioned earlier, the weather can drop very cold, but they are really starting to shrivel. So this is going to be the first time watering some of the cacti and succulents since their winter rest. And these are all the camelobivias and the lobivias and chamaceras, commonly known as the Peanuts Cacti, because of their little cute little shapes resembling peanuts when they're in the cases, of course, peanut cases. And I am going to start watering these now. The reason being, they are in very small pots. Even these are in very well draining soil, and usually late March, beginning of April is when they do kick start into forming buds. And because they are in small pots and the weather's pretty good forecast the next few days, I'm going to be safe enough to go ahead and water these. But all these other cacti I've got here, I'm going to be keeping completely dry still until probably the second week in April, all depending on the weather, obviously. As I say, if all these was inside the house, I'd be watering them now as normal. I'll be starting them up. But because the polytunnel does get cold of an evening here, we have the heater that we switch on if it kicks on if it drops below 41 degrees Fahrenheit 5C, which the nights have been very chilly here still because we've had the good weather during the day, that it's safer to keep the ones in the bigger pots here still dry. Not going to affect them forming flowers. I mean, we've had, see, their little buds coming up as well on this Succulent Robustia here. So all doing well. But I'm going to kickstart these because they are in small pots with the watering. So I'm just going to explain to you which ones I'm going to be doing first. This one as well. I'm just focusing in at the moment on the ones that are in small pots, because if we get a series of very cold weather in the next couple of weeks, by the time I'm going to give them all a good water now, pots will have dried out before then, so it's no harm there. And as you can see, it's very desperate for a good drink. And so mainly the ones in the small pots that I can obviously see, like this one that's very shriveled, and this one, as you can see, clearly shriveled, and all these as well. That's the ones I'm going to be focusing on purely today, and then I'm going to leave the rest of the watering the whole collection then probably in the next 2 to 3 weeks, depending on how the temperatures go. So I'll just show you here as well, these, I mean, look how shriveled they are. They really need a good drink, so that's a good indication. And some of the succulents as well, I'm going to start to water as well, string of pearls and string of tears. Some of these as well. I have actually watered. I do keep these still lightly watered during the winter, probably about once every few weeks, just to stop them from shriveling. That's only with some of the succulents. The majority I all keep dry. But this is going to be the first proper watering I'm giving the succulents as well. As you can see here, that's the Crassula ovata hobbit, as they say, or the golem, and that's very sort of wrinkled as well. And this is wrinkled, very wrinkled jade there. So they need a good drink. So that's basically what we're waffling on what I'm going to be doing. Now, what I like to do, as I say, I mentioned more about how to know when to start watering, and I'm being asked permanently now, Lynn, now it's March, do I water my cacti? And I say, I have to ask questions like, what's your temperature, where do you have the cacti and everything. Basically, if you're indoors and your house is heated, you can go ahead and water your cacti and succulents as normal from now on, because it is spring, if it is your spring, obviously. But if you have them in a greenhouse or a polytunnel, or you have them in a cold room or anything outdoors, some people overwinter them in cellars and sheds and things, then I would be very careful until the chance of any type of very cold weather is out the way. I'd rather a shriveled cactus than a rotten one. So what I'm going to be doing to start them off is I like to use, which I've mentioned in quite a few videos, is the Maxi crop tomato fertilizer. Now you can use any type of good quality tomato fertilizer. Levington's is another good one as well. I like to use Maxi crop because it has added seaweed extract. Now, when you first start to water the cacti and succulents, you don't necessarily have to start them off by feeding them. You certainly don't have to give them tomato feed. You can give them traditional cactus feed, or even a bit of baby bio, the traditional houseplant feed. The reason why I like to start them off with the tomato fertilizer is because it's high in potassium. And most cactus fertilizers are usually high in potassium anyway, but I personally find really good. The tomato feed used at half strength really gives them a kickstart. And as it's very early spring, they take that in with the first watering, and even the ones that are already starting to form buds, it's going to really boom, really encourage blooming, because that's going to be the first big drink they're going to take of the year, and they're really going to fill up them lovely wrinkled, shriveled cells there, fatten up their bodies, and fill it up with that lovely high potassium feed. It's going to really help to encourage flowering, guys. And if you want to know where to purchase this particular one from, I'll put links down below. I just get it from Amazon. You can also get it on eBay, and I think even most garden centres sell this, so it's easy enough to get. But any type of good quality tomato fertiliser, it would do exactly the same, and use it at half the strength they recommend, obviously, for tomatoes, because you don't need to use it at that strength. Too much fertiliser can encourage leggy growth on your plants, and that's what you don't want. And I've made a separate video on what fertiliser and how I use the tomato feed, and also the normal cactus feeds I like to use as well, and I'll link up above to that video above there, and I go into how I use this and the measurements and everything like that. So do check it out, guys, if you haven't done already. Anyway, enough of my waffle. That's just mentioning about the ones I'm going to be watering and the reasons why I'm only watering some and not others. And as I say, it depends really on where you're living in the world, the temperature and the environment and everything when it comes to watering your plants. By the middle of April, certainly by the end of April, all of these in here, regardless, will be watered pretty much as and when all through until the late summer, early fall. And what I do, I've made many videos on how I water my cacti and succulents, but if you want to know a really in-depth video on how to water cacti and succulents. I go into a lot of detail and explain many reasons on watering and when not to water and everything in detail. Do check a video I've made, links up above, on how to water cacti and succulents. And so that's a little bit of that. Now to actually get on with watering them. Now I always like to use one of these, they call them pump pressure sprayers. This is another one I think I got from either eBay or Amazon, I can't remember. And sort of online shopping is the way to be at the moment with everything, obviously. And it was only about 10 euro or something like that. It's great, and the reason why I like these is because this takes 10 litres, so you can fill it up with a lot of water, which is great when you have a lot of plants, but also the fact that these can reach in places where you cannot reach, like me trying to reach with even the smallest of watering cans. Not only do I knock a load of plants over, but I also end up with loads of spines all over my my top. So this is great, safe way of getting right into those plants you want to water. They're great, guys, and easy enough. Most garden centres have them, and as I say, online shopping now on Amazon is the safest way at the moment with everything going on. They're quite easy to get hold of and cheap, and they last for ages. And what I've done is I've mixed up the tomato feed in there, so that's only made up so much because I don't need a whole lot. So I'm only going to be watering just the shriveled ones and the ones in the small pots, and gives a bit of a browny colour. But that's going to not be a problem. And I'm going to start watering now. I'm going to show you the ones. I'm going to first of all start off on this side with the wrinkled punchers. The only downside to these pressure things, guys, is they really do give you a lot of arm exercise. Oh my gosh. But good exercise, I suppose. That's it, all pumped up. And now we go. Start off, as I say, with the smallest, which I'm going to, so many just concentrate on the very wrinkled ones here. And the great thing is you just go straight into that like so. Just enough to give the soil a good, going to give it a good watering, because I don't need to go too crazy. There you go, get all these done on here. It's amazing how, if you want to see, I mean, last year I did the same thing as this, and I did a before and after video when I watered them. They were wrinkled. I think they were even more wrinkled last year than this, and when I watered them about 3 days later, they plumped up, and you wouldn't believe the difference in how they look. So if you want to check a video I made on before and after of watering wrinkled, shriveled cacti, do check it out, guys. The link's also up above. And this as well, wrinkled. So you want to make sure when it's the first watering of the year that you do give a really good soak. And obviously those of you know who growing cacti only ever use well draining cactus and succulent soil. And in the pots, these as well, very wrinkled. Can't wait to get watering them all again as normal, but you have to be very careful because it's still early in the year, as I mentioned. Only water the ones that are very desperate. This one, as I say, is literally really shriveled, as you can see, one of the tephro cacti there. So make sure, as if you have them all on the tray together like I have, is not to give too much water where it all drips out and then waters all the other ones, but be careful at the moment. That's enough. Now, as I say, my little Camacereus and my Bushas and everything like that. And first of all, I'm going to give this one, the Echinocereus one, that's completely wrinkled. You wouldn't believe in a few days' time the difference in how these look. And the little pots, I'll do that first. So just enough to give them a good soaking. And as I say, the tomato feed really does give them a big of a nice booster. Give you a bit of an idea if you're watering them for the first time after winter. So really help to kick-start them all. And also these, now these are in a bigger bowl, but this is in a clay pot, so this will dry out very fast. So that's why I'm giving this. This one is, and you can see I'm watering this even though it's in a bigger bowl because it's very shriveled. The same with this one as well. And that's it. And then these little ones are going to give a little bit, because again they're in very small pots, just to encourage them to coming to growth. And as I say, I'm only doing the small ones because they will dry out very quickly. The Rebutia there. Watering these ones as well because these are in very small pots, just enough to give them a bit of a kickstart. These are my seedlings. I'm going to keep all these other seedlings all dry. They're not shriveled, but obviously this is the puncher seedlings here that are, as you can see, like the other punchers up there, desperate for good drinks. They're going to get a good soaking now, and then they're soon going to fatten up again. Also going to do these too. And these are my little Trichocereus seedlings. As you can see, very shriveled there. They're definitely, again, because they're in very small pots, in need of a good drink. And if you want to know what a cactus looks like, if it has too much, if it not necessarily has too much to drink after the winter, but if you're giving it a good watering when it's been dry all over the winter, check out one of my cacti. A few years ago it was one of my clyster cactus, and it literally split apart when I first watered it because it was so dry, so thin, it just took up all the water and burst open. So check a video I've made out on what a cactus looks like when it's had too much to drink. It'll make you laugh, guys. By the way, the cactus fully recovered, and let's say that's it, or the one side of the, because there's a couple in there, that's it today. So you'll see how it's recovered very well. Now my succulents, as I say, this isn't the first time I've watered these this year. I've been watering these over the past few weeks, every few weeks, letting it completely dry out, because they're succulents. These particular ones need to be watered sort of throughout the winter very lightly as well, but I've been very careful with what I have been watering them. So it's not the first time for these now. It's the first time for some of these now. This one is I've watered before, but the Crassulas here, the J's, definitely the first time for these. Now I'm going to do the Crassula ovatas, the Gollum here. This is also very shriveled. First time this has been watered this year. And I am going to come back and give them, the ones in little pots here, another bit of a water as well, because it's easier for them to take it up a few hours later again. And that's it, guys. So as I say, it can depend on many different things on when to start watering your cacti and succulents. And as I say, I'm withholding from watering a lot of my other ones at the moment, purely because the climate here is still coolish, and it could easily get cold again the next couple of weeks. So I'm just watering the ones that have been pretty desperate. But as I say, do check out my other videos I've made on how to water cacti and succulents, and also how to know when to start watering your cacti and succulents in the spring. So guys, thank you so much for watching. And if you haven't done already, please do subscribe, and don't forget to click the notification bell. And most importantly, hope you're all staying safe. And one good thing about plants, they are just the best thing on the planet, guys, for keeping us calm and relaxing at all times. And if you want to know a little bit more on how to grow cacti and succulents, then please do check out my website, desertplantsofavalon.com. By the way, guys, talking about my website, I'm having a few problems with it. I noticed that the home page, when you land on it, is taking an awful long time to load. Don't know why. Trying to work out with my friend who helps me with my website why it is doing that, but obviously with everything going on at the moment, it's sort of not easy to get it done, because obviously I'm not able to see people who I'd normally be seeing to help me with the website. So if you have a chance to check it out, just try going on it and flick on some of the pages, and let me know if it's loading slow for you, because it's been a bit of a nightmare for me this end. And just let me know your feedback if you get a couple of minutes, guys. Hopefully I can sort my website out and it's going to be back up to high speed again. So guys, I want to send you loads of love, heaps of happiness, and tons of cactus and succulent power from across the Emerald Isle. And until my next video, bye.